We're continuing with our 2x2 series, which explores the major arcana. 10 of the major arcana exist on the Tree of Life, and the other 10 are their partners and exist on the Tree of the Knowledge of Good and Evil. Today's card is the Sun card. This is a joyous card. It's a good card. Sometimes if you are doing a fortune telling and the Death card or the Devil card turns up, you may get a reaction from the person. It may be a little bit of apprehension. This is a card that people generally like to receive. One of the points I just want to make before we start, as we look at the different meanings of the different tarot cards, we have to remember that the tarot cards were invented to teach the practical knowledge of the Kabbalah as reflected in the Tree of Life. So there are a lot of things in this that are referring to their school of thought. One of the points I wanted to make is that each tarot card is not like a fortune cookie. Each card is not to be opened and there's an immediate lesson on how you should live your life. They're a bit more complex than that. Remembering too that tarot cards weren't invented to tell fortunes. They were invented to secretly carry the traditions of the Kabbalah, of a school of thought, of a way that these people were raised and taught. The tarot cards carried information, and when they were laid out in a certain way, you could compare the partner cards and the information would turn into lessons. We don't need 78 hand-painted standardized cards to tell fortunes. You need a person's palm, scattered bones, some dice, or even tea leaves. The tarot cards were designed for a higher purpose, but we use them for fortune telling today. In order to do a good fortune telling, we need to know the deep meaning of the cards. And that's what we're doing here with the Sun. We're dealing with the Sun card, and its partner card is Strength. And strength is going to be sort of the topic of today. We have covered the power of beauty in times gone by, and today is going to be strength. Strength is manifested through the Sun card. We'll move on with a little bit of an exploration of the Sun card now. In a reading, this is a good card. Check out the meanings on the internet and in most books. Words used to describe this card are words like innocence, optimism, joy, safety, no fear, gratitude, vitality, security, and a bright future. The Sun card is an optimistic card, and it's a card that suggests power. And we'll see that that power is in the form of strength. In our world, we often see strength as a conquering force. We often see strength as something that we have to use when needed. The Sun card is showing us something different. And this is what we're going to pursue, that the strength in the Sun card, reflected in the Sun card, is an attribute for all humans. It brings out the best in us. So we can agree that this is a good card. If an aspirant had this card as part of their reading, they would be pleased. Aside from fortune telling, the Strength card and Sun card were designed to illustrate a practical Kabbalistic truth about the true nature of absolute strength or power beyond all others. And just for the purposes of argument, as we move through this, we'll keep in the back of our mind, what would it be like to be Superman, Superwoman? What would it be like to have greater strength than anybody else? The kind of greater strength that you wouldn't be challenged. There is no doubt. The Strength card, like its partner card, the Sun, lie on the Sephira of Hod. This is Hod on the two trees here. They are aspects of each other. Both these cards teach a lesson, and we will explore that lesson. And just in short, here's the lesson. True power, absolute with no weakness, confers upon the possessor and can be recognized by a gentleness, compassion, and innocence. Benevolent joy can be the product of true power. And this isn't always apparent. When we think of power and strength, we don't always think of it as bringing about our gentler, more compassionate nature, certainly not in movies. When a character has power, it becomes an aggressive weapon most often, and he uses this weapon in pursuit of whatever he thinks is good or right or just. We'll move into a description of the card now. A radiant sun with a human face beams down upon a garden of sunflowers growing beyond a massive block wall. This is a wall with purpose. This is a wall that's impenetrable. In the foreground, an unclothed child with outstretched arms rides bareback upon a pale or white horse. In one hand she holds a staff and a flowing orange banner. From her golden curls sprout flowers and plumage. In a reading, the meaning of the Sun card is about understanding a concept rather than providing life advice. The concept is the healing power of strength rather than using strength as some kind of a tool or weapon. Let's begin to define the concept. Basically, true strength brings out the best in us, and that's not instinctive. And we certainly do see people who suddenly get strength and may become a bully or a tyrant. Those tendencies are not because of strength, they're because of an inherent weakness in that person, some kind of a self-doubt. What we're trying to bring out is that strength is not the enemy that defeats us, it's weakness. Strength is an asset, and although initially it can be misused, in the long term, it is a healing factor. The poet Blake, in his Songs of Innocence, talks about shepherds and flocks of gentle sheep in his poems called Songs of Innocence. But he includes the tiger and the quote, "Tiger, tiger, burning bright." And he goes on in his Songs of Innocence. And we have to look at this twice to think of the tiger as innocent, but of course he is. The tiger, unlike the shepherd and sheep, has no vulnerability and no fear. He kills only to eat. He is never cruel. He doesn't need to be. He would never want to be cruel. That impetus that would drive someone to be cruel would be absence in someone who had no fear, no need for revenge or retaliation. If you are secure in your strength, your motivations will be honorable and your actions will tend to be passive. But it may be hard to imagine yourself as a tiger. But here's another example of unquestioned power making a person more responsible and aware of their actions. And this is a bit of a mind game that we can play. We'll look at the Sun card, and we'll see aspects of strength, an aspect of power. They didn't know anything about nuclear power back in the day, and all power that is observable comes directly from the sun. It is what we eat, it is how we grow, it is how we're born. It is the sun that gives the power to the earth, and the earth responds to that donation of power. But to get what it would be like to be a Superman, we can come up with an analogy that's much closer to home. And imagine you are a skilled kindergarten teacher. Imagine that a cosmic shift occurred and everybody on Earth except you remain and are 5-year-olds. In time they grow up, but they are still mentally and physically always 5 years old. Imagine this had happened. You woke up this morning and you're just so much stronger than anybody. You probably want to keep it secret. I mean, weightlifters, MMA fighters would have no power over you physically. In scenario number one, this would be the very beginning, and this would not be the best scenario. But let's say that this happened and you are suddenly much stronger than anybody else on Earth. You might want to become a superhero, or you might want to become a dictator and amass great wealth and the admiration from everyone. And this might be an initial impetus. But the point of the Sun card is the healing aspects of strength and the necessity of strength if you're going to be a self-determining person. So let's move to scenario 2. This is, you have all the strength, more than anybody else. You fit in. You live a good life. You're unoppressed. You're unthreatened. So you enjoy. You have sympathy and a degree of understanding for everybody, and you have no fear of anyone. And we just have to imagine how a kindergarten teacher goes about their day or recess duty in the classroom, whatever. Kindergarten teacher doesn't challenge a student to a fight, ever. You never see a kindergarten teacher say, okay, Johnny, step outside. With strength comes a sense of responsibility, and there are no negative feelings that they have to overcome. The kindergarten teachers do not ridicule. They are peacemakers. And in the Sun card, we see the depiction of the idea of all our negative emotions and actions stem from a fear of personal weakness. And of course, strength will remove that. We're seeing strength now as a component of our personality rather than just an attribute. Let's compare and contrast it with a couple of cards. Let's look at the Sun and the Moon card. In the Sun and the Moon card, we both have this radiant sphere or circle in the sky with a face in it, but there's a huge difference. With strength, we have the pursuit of an ideal that actually exists. In the Moon card, we have the animals baying at something that, in a sense, doesn't exist. The radiance of the moon is just a reflection. Of course. The primitive and fearful creatures of the Moon card respond only to reflection, and they respond to it with worry and fear, and that's a part of this card. With the Sun card, we have celebration and confidence, sort of the antithesis of the Moon card, in the same way that perhaps the Chariot is. We'll take a look at the Sun card and the Death card. And these two have a lot of similarities. Both cards depict a rider on a pale horse. And biblically, Death rides a pale horse. The white horse and the red horse and the black horse are other riders. Death rides a pale horse. Both riders hold staves, and from those staves are flags. So we can see the similarities of the components in the two cards. But again, they are sort of the antithesis of each other. In the Death card, we have sunset. It's a setting sun. We have the diminishing of power. And all around is death. All around is what used to be alive. In the sun card, instead of a sunset, we see a sunrise. We see the gaining of power, and we see life all around. There is a little confusing part as we study tarot and Kabbalah, and we come up with these really big topics of strength and beauty. Today we're looking at strength, and the confusing part is that tarot describes the masculine and feminine essential energies like polarities, like the positive and negative on a battery. These two energies are translated as the two pillars, as severity or cleanse, and on the other side, mercy or grow. The left pillar has 3 cards on it, and the right has 3 cards on it. The other cards are on the middle line. The sun card and its partner, the strength card, lie on the side of severity, the side of cleanse, the side of restrict. This is the feminine column as well. We can often see the power of beauty as the feminine essence, and we often refer to the power of strength as the male essence, even though the strength card is on the female side. And this is interesting, and this is true. Men seek power. Men have a need to be strong. Of course, women do too, but there is a demonstration effect that's more evident in men. But the archetype of strength is exemplified in the female essence. Perhaps men seek to demonstrate strength, while women use strength to accomplish. In a reading, you might ask something like this. We're looking at strength, and we're trying to find out where in the person's life is strength. If they're receiving pleasure from non-doing or piggybacking on someone else, we would ask them to tell us a place where they feel strong and safe. That they could talk about, and they could try to identify where strength, where personal strength has a place in this. So in a reading, I would say something like this. What part of your real or imagined life is the sun card? Does this card reference an aspect of your personal being? Examine that part of your life and realize that your joy and delight is achieved due to your strength. And this may not be immediately understood by people who think that happiness is a result of chance or meeting the right person or something like that. We will see that personal strength is a necessary component to the feelings that emanate from this card. I would say, what parts of your life are unlike the sun card? And then we can identify some weaknesses, the need to develop personal power, and the idea that if there are parts of your life that are not joyous and happy, that you need to become stronger. And this is the message that weaves through the sun card and its partner, strength. The idea of strength not just portrayed as it is so often in movies and in the idea of male domination, that strength is something that is a necessary part of joy. The sun card is a celebration. It suggests that one part of your life is safe, happy, and optimistic. In a reading, if the sun card is revealed, there are a set of questions you can ask. Where in your life do you feel joyous, secure? Where do you look forward to the future? And number 2, examine your need for severity or cleanse, that pillar. You have the strength to eliminate negative elements from your life. The stone wall behind the child and the horse symbolizes the need for exclusion. This is not a card of welcoming and allowing everything to coexist. This is on the side of severity. It necessitates exclusion. And the wall behind the child and the horse illustrates that some things cannot be let into this life and have it still be happy. And that's one of the aspects of strength, what you don't allow. Strength in its pure form allows us to create a place in the world where we can thrive. And I think that's what I get out of the Sun card right now. Joss, are there any questions?
Well, first, Sarah, Cobalt.
Hi, Sarah. Cobalt.
Seven Sun, say hi.
Seven Sun, yeah.
The first question I think I'll read Cobalt's question, although I could read.
Okay.
Okay. Cobalt is saying, for some reason, in practice, I notice that this card is harsh truth, maybe a call to mature, my own take on it. I wonder about the negative aspects and why is it on the column of severity?
Oh, a whole bunch of questions there.
Do we want to hold off?
I'm probably going to have to think about that. Why is it on the... I've never really... it just is. But Cobalt, really great questions. I'm going to have to ponder this a little bit. I don't think I can just answer that off the top of my head, but I will look at it and I will address it.
Everywhere I look, the meaning of the Sun card seems to be joy and happiness. Is there a dark side or dire warning contained in the Sun card?
The Sun card is a good and joyful card. In a reading, it predicts security, freedom, and happiness. In my opinion, the Sun card contains no warnings. As I mentioned at the very beginning, this is not a fortune cookie. This is the communication of a concept. The concept is a realization that true strength doesn't have to produce a warrior. True strength can also allow for openness, confidence, and freedom from fear.
Why is the Sun card connected to innocence, and why is innocence something we should want?
Yeah, and that's interesting. We can look at innocence in different ways, and we can look at it as naive, not knowing very much, not very wise. But innocence also means not doing something wrong. A person is innocent if they haven't committed a crime. And furthermore, it means approaching life like a child. And I think in the tarot cards, when we look at innocence, it means approaching something without a lot of preconceived ideas. By being innocent, we treat each new person and situation as an adventure, not an adversary.
Is the child on the Sun card a kind of good-natured person?
Well, she certainly looks joyous and happy and harmless, and that's what she is portraying. And I think if you had great strength, you would try to depict yourself as harmless. I think that's the way it would work. Okay. The child in the Sun card is the personification of unquestioned strength. We saw in the Strength card itself, the woman could have easily ripped the head off the lion, but she didn't. She merely demonstrated that her strength was so much greater that any act against her would be futile. The lion was then turned free, where the lion kept away the jackals. Having a lion around was good for the village. Killing the lion would have just meant more of the pests that she was trying to get rid of. I sort of forget where I was going with this. Okay, this figure is unquestioned strength, but she is on the side of severity. The wall behind her means there are things she does not let in, things she doesn't do, people she doesn't associate with. A great measure of her joy is not allowing threats into her life. She is no pushover. She will overcome any threat. Very often she finds it just easy to avoid. Any character on the left side has limited openness to everybody. This is the side of restriction. On the Sun card, even though this shows great strength, great joy and innocence, that wall behind her means there are things that are not going to be part of her life. And that's probably where a great part of her strength lies, is that she has the ability not to allow intrusions into her life, and she can maintain her joy and innocence that way.
I think you did touch on this one. Why does the Sun child ride a white horse?
Well, I have a pet theory about this, and when we looked at the death card, we did see the staff, the banner, the rising sun, the setting sun. I believe that this child rides the pale horse. She rides death's horse. And when you think of this little girl on this unbridled horse, she may seem absolutely harmless. But I think when we realize she rides death's horse, it means that she is impervious to any threat. She holds all the cards. It is symbolic of her strength. She will respond in kind to any threat. She is life with the power of death. And, okay.
I have another question. Hanuman Bach states tarot is just glorified Rorschach, and Rorschach is that Swiss psychiatrist Hermann Rorschach, who uses ambiguous ink blots for a patient to interpret.
Right.
And Channel of Mind, his response to that is that tarot, as a structured and well-developed Rorschach test, is a great way to see it.
Yeah, very much like the Rorschach. I've seen those butterfly-like, and people read into them what they want or what they're feeling at the time, and I think tarot cards can be a lot like that. However, each tarot card has a specific meaning. It's an archetype of something where the ink blots have no meaning on their own. Okay, that's the Sun card. We're looking at it as an aspect of strength, but not the violent Hollywood aspect of strength, the personal strength that allows you joy. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.